to have a bounce back year. And we have a very interesting matchup in the first round of the playoffs with the Timberwolves and the Lakers. It's a rematch, not necessarily of these two teams, obviously, but of Luka, who dominated the Wolves in the East in the Western Conference Finals last year, averaging 33, 9, and 8, threw some daggers at them, especially at games in Minneapolis. I think this will be one of the more interesting series of the first round because of the differing styles. The Timberwolves like to play big. The Lakers obviously like to play small, but the ball is going to be in number 77's hands, and he's going to try to replicate what he did as a Dallas Maverick last season.
So, Sinead, again, to Wendy's point, in completely different circumstances, we saw Luka versus Ant-Man last year. No more Karl Anthony Towns. Luka's not even on the same team anymore. How much will this series come down to that matchup?
I think it comes down to that matchup exactly, because Anthony Edwards is going to come for people's heads come postseason. We have known that this is the the time of basketball that matters the most for him. He's taken it up another level. When people look at him leading the NBA in made threes, I think people are like, oh, he loves to shoot the ball. No, to me, that actually shows he wants to be sustainable. He doesn't necessarily want to have to go down and mix it in the paint over 82 games, because when it matters most, he wants to be at full strength. And now he's got that in his bag, plus he's got Julius now playing better brand of basketball. They need their two isolation scorers, that tandem of Julius and Ant, to show up. And then most importantly, as you mentioned, Marcus, like the ability for them to hopefully hold strong with their bigs. Because we know the Lakers are going to try to force small ball, get Rudy off the floor. That has been the question mark for them, the T-Wolves, the last few years. It's going to be fun.
We have a few days before this series starts so we can dive into it. But at first blush, which way do you lean, Lakers or T-Wolves?
I got to lean the Lakers, man. I just think, adding those pieces, right, it takes them over the top. When you say Ant and Luka, that kind of X out each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, now you get to see what is Julius Randle, the acquisition of Julius Randle, how does he come to play, right? You get to see AR has been playing really well, and quite frankly, I just feel like that the Lakers are a deeper team. Luka killed the Timberwolves last year, right? Like, how do you game plan for that now, adding LeBron James to the mix, right?
What is LeBron's role? What is, so we've been waiting all this time. They make the trade. Okay, can't wait to see what it looks like in the playoffs. The playoffs are here. What's it going to look like?
He's super versatile, right? You play him at the center, you play him at the power forward. He can play the point guard. He's adding to Luka Doncic. He let Luka Doncic be free. LeBron James, at his age, is still one of the best players in the NBA, and that says a lot. He's coming into this confident. The Lakers team are playing really well. AR is playing really well.
Understatement.
Finley is playing really well. Listen,
right.
I think they have all the pieces that complement each other to get to where they need to be.
Look, I like Ant Edwards for making this matchup spicy, right? But the truth is that you have Luka Doncic, who can go turbo mode whenever he wants to if he gets mad. And of course, that puts LeBron James in the off-ball position, which actually helps him, so he doesn't have to put the entire team on his back while he's asked to do more defensively with them being small. I like that, but most importantly, the best LeBron James teams, you know this, have Kyrie, an off-ball scorer, have a D-Wade, an off-ball scorer. Now you got Luka Doncic with size. LeBron doesn't have to carry as much of a load, which means they're going to be lethal. But I love that. Was it you? I can't remember who brought up Austin Reeves. A lot of people question whether LeBron James would be able to be LeBron James with Luka being more dominant. But more importantly, they question, will AR-15 be able to be that guy still? He has exceeded expectations.
Oh, yeah.
He had a tremendous year. Candidate for most improved.
Hey, Wendy, put a final word on this. Again, you were with me the day after the trade happened, and we were, well, let's see what it looks like when we get to the, well, now it's here. What do we expect it to look like?
This is LeBron's 18th time going to the playoffs. It'll be the lightest lift he's ever had to give, which is ideal because he is 40 and he should be able to save his energy throughout the game to sort of deliver in the fourth quarters. That's been the Lakers' strategy since Luka arrived. And I think most importantly, the big thing is going to be LeBron on defense. He is most effective when he can be a rover and a helper. And the Timberwolves will put out lineups where he will be able to move off of a guy, whether it's Rudy Gobert or Jaden McDaniels. This is a comfortable potential for LeBron to be able to play more comfortably in his setup, even though the Wolves are a much more dynamic offensive team than they were in the conference finals last year.
Again, we get to weekend till we get the Lakers. We have Steph and the Warriors playing the play-in tomorrow night. We have our games on Wednesday. The fun has just begun in the NBA. In the meantime, the fun may be over in Pittsburgh. Peace out, Pittsburgh. Is TJ Watt sending a message?
It took for him to get a break. He had to play in this game to get his streak, and then he finally got his break. Look, I'm not mad at it, because if you think about all teams playing, multiple teams were sitting stars or resting stars or preparing for the playoffs. And I do love this streak because he's an Iron Man in the NBA. I think I was looking at the San Antonio Spurs, who had like jerseys for all their players who played in 82 games. Yeah. Now, I know we're here, like we're trimming the hedges a little bit when it comes to it, but I'm not mad at it, because if this were an intentional game, we know he'd be out there.
Sure.
But I feel like you're stewing, though, Greeny.
He did the same thing 2 years ago. No, I'm just saying, like, if he... So maybe I'm a little protective of Johnny Red Kerr, who was the Bulls announcer when I covered them, and he's the one whose record, in theory, he's chasing. Red Kerr started the first 844 games of his career. I guarantee you he didn't play 6 seconds and commit an intentional foul in order to extend that streak in any of them. And, Wendy, maybe I'm on an island here. This doesn't sit right with me. How do you feel about it?
Sorry, Greeny, no big deal. If he was injured and he just limped out there and just fouled to continue the streak, he's healthy. If he had to play 35 minutes, he could have played 35 minutes. I'm fine with it. Also, this has been happening in the NBA for years. Yesterday in Cleveland, Jared Allen played 1 minute and fouled to leave the game so he could play all 82, which was really important for him. I don't care about it. He was healthy. He could have played. It wasn't like he was violating any spirit of the rule.
I understand that. I guess, I don't know. This comes back to this whole sort of old school, new school thing, right? And if this is a new school thing to do and everyone is doing it, then I don't want to be the old fart who's sitting here complaining all about it. I did go back to my notes because I wanted to make sure I had this right, that in the final game of his final season as a Chicago Bull in the NBA, Michael Jordan played a meaningless final game, right? The Bulls finished 60-22 that year, I think. And though they had already wrapped up everything they had to be wrapped up, and he played all 82 games that year. He didn't play 6 seconds. He scored 44 points in a meaningless game. And so when people talk about the disconnect, I think sometimes between previous generations and the generation that's playing now, and I understand and I respect both sides of it, I think this is just something that in the past would not have been done.
Yeah, I totally agree. But there's only one Michael Jordan, one Kobe Bryant, one person that honestly is the standard when it comes to how players approach the game no matter what. We are in a different age. I'm sorry, Greeny, but This is just where we are.
I'll let it go. Look, I'm certainly not here to say this is the worst thing that has ever happened, but I think there's one thing to say that there was a consecutive started streak, and another thing to say there's a consecutive games played streak. I know they do this in the NFL sometimes. I don't like it there either, but there is a far greater risk of injury there. All right, I'm going to leave it be. Let's move forward. Wendy, let's do the Wendy Watch. The season has concluded. Give us some things we should have an eye on. Go.
Now, there were some things that happened in the league yesterday. Specifically, Chauncey Billups got a contract extension to stay as the Portland Trail Blazers head coach. He had a team option for next season that had to be picked up and decided on within the next week. There were some other teams out there potentially eyeing him if he became a free agent. The Blazers locked him up. Last week, they locked up their general manager, Joe Cronin. They had a decent second half of the season, but it was still a little bit of a surprise that he would get such a strong extension this fast. But listen, other people wanted him. They didn't want to lose him. That's what you have. Look for the Blazers to try to be active in the offseason to try to upgrade their roster around him. There will also be no changes in Philadelphia. After this disastrous season with the Sixers, general manager, I should say team president, Daryl Morey came out yesterday and said he will be back, and so will coach Nick Nurse. I have to say, it was kind of a weird mission accomplished day for the 76ers. They lost. They finished the season going 5-31, Greeny, to ensure that they will have the 5th highest chances of winning the lottery. More importantly, a 6